Hey everyone, and welcome back to another session on how to build in No Man's Sky. This is the first guide that will be part of a Before You Build series. In today's episode, I will be covering the building UI and what each button does. I am assuming you are aware you need to place and claim a base computer before being able to build. If you're not aware of that, then have a quick look at an older video linked in the description. To enter the build menu, you will need to press the following button. That will open up an overlay showing each of the building parts you have unlocked. The building parts are organized in categories and subcategories. When hovering over the building part, the menu will show which materials you will need to build the selected piece. To select the building part, you simply press the following button. You can also pin the details of the building piece so you can see which materials you will need to collect to build it. When selecting a part, the overlay will close and you will hold the piece into your building beam. Depending on its location, it will be either green or red stated. Obviously, green means placeable, red means invalid. We want to focus on two things on the screen right now: the building tool menu and the information screen. But before we get into it, let us go into the build camera. You can enter the build camera by pressing the following button. Let's have a quick look at the build info screen. The info screen will give you some information about the building part. Let us skip the obvious information, which is the name and description. Next to the title, you might see a small electrical icon which will be either red or green, with a value next to it. This means the building item either produces or requires power. Green is a power generator, red is a power user. The value next to it will let you know how much it generates or requires. Below the description, you can find the needed materials. Depending on the number of materials you have on you, the information screen will show you the number of parts you can build with that. Below that, the screen also shows you in which base computer you are building. This is especially important in case you are building close to a friend's base and perhaps the building radiuses are overlapping. This is also interesting in case you are using the dual base computer technique. Below that, you see two important pieces of information: the base uploadable and the base terrain edits. Currently, the base is uploadable, shown by the check mark. Once you reach the base limit, which is 3000 parts per base computer, the checkmark will change to a red X and show you how many parts you have been building over the build limit. The other is base terrain edits. The little circle next to it shows you how much terrain you have been editing in your bases in total. Once you reach the full circle, your building parts will no longer affect the terrain. This means you will have to restore terrain either on your current base or on your previous bases. Alright, let us have a look at the building tool menu. When selecting a building part, the main tool menu will look like this. Here you can find a series of actions. Each of them should have a button icon below them. We start with the cycle part. This action will cycle from your current part to the part on the right side in your building menu. This is also the basis for the adjacency glitch. The cycle part will only move and cycle in one subcategory. It will not shift to the next subcategory. Next up is build. As the name states, pressing this button will place the part in the position you placed it, if it's green stated of course. The third action is colors, which allows you to change the color of your building part, either the one you are about to build or by selecting the one that already has been placed, but we will get back to that. When you have an unplaced part, press the button for colors, and that will open up the color menu for that specific building material. Select the color, and if possible the texture, and return out of the menu by pressing this button. That should have applied your choices. The following action is rotate, which either can be done by the mouse scroll wheel or the triggers on the controller. Rotation is currently only possible on the X-axis, but this might change in the future. Rotating will either free rotate a building part or when it's snapped, snap rotate. Up next is the scale action. Scaling can be done by pressing the following buttons and will either scale up or down your selected part. Not all building parts are scalable, and the ones that do have a maximum and minimum scale. Toggle free placement is a very handy tool, as it disables snapping points and allows you to place your parts freely. This button switches between the free placement and the snapping points enabled. Before we have a look at the toggle edit build, which is a separate menu, let us quickly go over the two final buttons. The toggle camera, which I already showed you at the beginning of the guide, allows you to fly around while building. That way it's easier to navigate around your base. And finally, toggle wiring. which will enable the wire menu and makes it easier to wire up your bases. Be aware that you can cycle through your wire, supply pipe and cables by pressing the cycle button. The toggle wire is the basis of all wire glitches. Before we jump into the edit menu, take note of a text below the tool menu, as it will give you extra information about the current state of your building part. Okay, let us toggle to the edit menu by pressing the following button. Here you can find some new and already covered tools. The first one is Move, which allows you to pick up a part in its current state and move it. This action will hold the scale, color, textures and rotation of the part. Before Frontiers, the button for Move was used for confirming deletion of parts, so currently many builders are confused with that. Deleting is now another button, which we will be getting to later on. Here we have colors again, but this time we can apply color on the parts that we are aiming at. The blue color indicates we are now editing this part. By pressing the button for color, we open up the color menu for that material, and here you can change the color and texture if available. Returning out of the menu will apply the changes. One of many builders' favorite tools so far has to be Duplicate. This is in many ways similar to Move, as it will hold the scale, color, textures and rotation of the part, but instead of moving, we will copy that part. Duplication is done by pressing these buttons. And here we have Delete. This button is which you will be pressing when deleting a part or series of parts. As long as you are in the Edit menu and press that button, you will be removing the selected parts. The other three buttons we already covered and are no different. And this was an overview of the building tool menu and the information screen. I hope this was informative for you and helped you to understand what each button does. I will drop a few videos here on the end of the screen that might be useful for you to watch next. As usual, I would appreciate your thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. This was Beeblebum. Goodbye for now.